In the fall of 2007, Eidos Interactive published their latest third-person shooter. It was promised to be a gritty, dark, adult crime thriller, taking cues from popular Michael Mann films such as Heat and Collateral. It would follow two criminal protagonists who escape death row only to commit a ton more crimes just to survive. What could go wrong? That's right, people, it's time for 2007's Kane Lynch Dead Men for the PC. So this game actually supports a side-by-side split screen, so I recruited Greg.
Yes, he did.
To join me on my journey into this dark underbelly of F-bombs and bullets.
What is going on?
I strongly advise you to do what you're fucking told.
Who the fuck are you to talk to me like that?
The game starts with Kane on death row writing a letter to his daughter Jenny as he awaits being transferred for execution. During the transport, he meets Lynch, who introduces himself to Kane by jumping on him just as their van gets attacked. Next thing you know, Kane and Lynch are on the street along with some other gun-blazing goons who have arranged for your escape. Poorly. So Kane is forced to take up arms with Lynch and the goons and kill, well, I think every cop within 50 miles, until you make your escape into a van after barricading yourselves inside a donut shop. You're taken to a rendezvous with members of the Seven, Kane's former associates who he betrayed years ago. The Seven are led by a red-headed ghoul and Wolfman, both seeking retribution, but more importantly the thing Kane stole.
The fuck I did.
They also say they have Kane's wife and daughter. Kane denies ripping them off, but they aren't having it. Kane pleads with Carlos, another member of the Seven, but to no avail. Wolfman says Kane has 3 weeks to bring it all back, and Mr. Gooey puts Lynch in charge of Kane before the Seven clear out. Then you're forced to play through a boring-ass tutorial. And we find out that Lynch is taking some sort of medication.
Nothing serious, it's just for my stomach.
Sure. The tutorial draws the attention of more cops, who you then all kill. After that, you get ready to rob a bank. Lynch also says,
Fuck! I don't know how to rob a bank.
but we'll come back to Lynch in a little bit. And just like that, you're with a crew robbing a bank. Turns out that Kane had the combination for the security box all along. And the thing that Kane denies stealing from the Seven is just money in a couple of briefcases. That's what this is all over. Enough money to fit in 2 average-sized briefcases. No greater or more significant MacGuffin. Except now one of the briefcases is missing.
Open them all.
Things continue to go wrong while Lynch is working crowd control.
Fuck! Get away from me!
And he has a mental break and kills all the hostages after hallucinating them to be all cops. Then actual cops show up and you kill a bunch of them before you escape in the back of a van.
But why did you kill the hostages?
Why? What do you mean?
Hey, another pressing question. Why did you both take your masks off while the police are chasing you? Kane and Lynch then have an argument while shooting at scores of police in hot pursuit. You eventually escape down a subway tunnel before flying off to Japan. So, even though both Kane and Lynch have repeatedly committed mass murder at this point, they managed to hop on a plane to Japan and head straight to a nightclub with little trouble. Okay.
Bitching? I'm not bitching. I just hate being ignored.
They don't even wear any kind of disguise as they bicker while waiting online to get into the club. They push their way through the nightclub to eventually reach the manager, Yoko. Lynch goes all Wicker Man and punches her out, and then they kidnap her. Kane tries to ransom Yoko to her father, Redomoto, who has the missing second briefcase. But Lynch has another psychotic break and kills Yoko, even though she's bound and gagged. Kane and Lynch escape in a van, and Lynch reveals he has a deal to join the Seven if he can keep tabs on Kane. And apparently Kane lets Lynch bring him back to the Seven without any trouble, because they both end up slated for execution after failing to retrieve all the money. Kane pleads again to Carlos, who's still just as useless.
Nothing I could do for them.
The Seven leave Mute behind to finish off Kane and Lynch because they're flying off to Havana to take over Cuba. Mute brings out Kane's family before it's time to die. Kane tells Jenny he wrote her a letter.
Baby, I wrote you a letter.
Mute shoots Kane's wife in the head right in front of him. Kane and Lynch launch an attack against their captors, and Kane beats Mute to death with a shovel before you shoot it out with even more goons. With the smoke finally cleared, Kane starts talking about that damn letter again and insists it's gonna be fine.
I wrote you a letter.
Huh?
It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine? Her mom was just shot in the face. In what world is it gonna be fine? Kane doesn't have to worry about paying alimony anymore? His submission for Father of the Year gets interrupted when a giant dump truck shows up to boss battle you. After you defeat the truck, and without saying a word, Jenny jumps in the nearest car and drives away. Kane decides the only way Jenny will be safe is if he kills the rest of the Seven. Wanting revenge, Lynch decides to tag along, but they're gonna need some help. Fortunately, there's a prison within driving distance that has a bunch of angry cons Kane knows. Without any apparent planning or prep, they drive the giant dump truck through the prison walls in broad daylight and totally wing a prison break. Apparently, no one knows 2 gruesome-looking psychos driving a giant dump truck around town at any point earlier. Dozens, if not hundreds of guards are dead before you spring Riffic, Tharpa, although the subtitles spell it Thappa, and Shelley. Shelley says that Lynch killed his wife.
You killed your wife?
Though Lynch denies it.
But I'm probably not responsible for my wife's death. It's more than you can say, right?
Hey, Lynch is just like Nubert. He killed his wife too. Shut up! Anyway, Kane and Lynch and the 3 guys who sprung from prison fly back to Japan. and posed as window washers to lead an assault on Redomoto. Fortunately, Redomoto is still carrying around that briefcase full of money, because why again? I mean seriously, why would he still have that on him? It's not like there's something super mysterious or cosmic with the briefcase, like in Pulp Fiction. It's just money. And imagine having his own building full of goons that you then proceed to murder. Redomoto has a ton of it already. With the briefcase now in hand, you shoot up half of Tokyo, and Lynch has another psychotic break and starts seeing cops as literal pigs. So, we should probably take a second to talk about Lynch. Just who the hell is he, and how did he get wrapped up in all this? Well, at the start of the game, he's on death row for killing his wife. As far as we know, he has no military experience, or dealings with organized crime, or mass murder. He's just a guy who's apparently mentally ill, and might be treatable by medication. So the Seven decides to have Lynch, they know has to be a wild card at best, help them spring Kane from death row. And then he's suddenly worth trusting to retrieve some vast sum of money? Now let's talk about his medication.
Just for my stomach. Been taking them since forever.
For the first 2/3 of the game, Lynch suffers from hallucinations that generally seem to be related to his prescription running out. During the loading screen before the prison break, he says,
I don't like this. I need more pills.
but then his mental state is never addressed again in the final last third of the game. After escaping Tokyo with the second briefcase, the game literally resumes in Cuba, and his medication and psychosis is never mentioned again. It's a pretty big threat to develop and just forget, but that's what the game does. Oh, and there's something else I want to point out. Sometimes when Lynch gets shot, he makes this sound, which sounds a bit like Pee Wee Herman. Also, Robert De Niro in Heat, gray suit. Tom Cruise in Collateral, gray suit. Kane, gray suit. Pee Wee Herman, gray suit! Ow! So yeah, now you're in Havana and for some reason you're fighting alongside Cuban military forces and eventually leading them to stop the Seven's attempted coup. Hey, remember when this game was about two psychos trying to steal back some money like pretty much all the levels preceding this?
Die, you fuck!
Remember when this game was supposed to be a gritty, neo-noir crime thriller?
Die, you fuck!
But yeah, you're leading an army or something, kill 10 more of the Seven's guerrilla fighters, shoot down helicopters, and apparently prevent Cuba from being taken over. You catch up with Carlos, who says the other members of the Seven have fled to Venezuela, and now they are holding Jenny hostage. He agrees to guide you to them in exchange for sparing his life. And now you're tracing around the jungles of Venezuela. You cut your way through scores of more generic soldiers until you reach the hacienda where the Seven are holding Jenny hostage. Then we throw grenades at Jenny for making us fly around the world to save her emo butt. Okay, seriously, this game has, I don't know if you'd call it a glitch, but maybe an exploit, where if you toss grenades prior to the start of a cutscene, the game will allow those grenades to go off. We blew up Jenny over 70 times. Here's the top 10.
Jenny, are you hurt?
Jenny?
Jenny, are you hurt?
Dead, you fucking quitter.
Jenny?
Jenny,
Jenny?
Jenny,
Jenny?
Jenny, are you hurt?
Jenny? Jenny?
Jenny,
Jenny?
Jenny, hurt?
Jenny?
Jenny, are you hurt?
Okay, back to the actual game now. Wolfman and Mr. Gully killed Carlos and left the landmine he was carrying conveniently propped next to a load-bearing pillar. To escape the situation, you blast the landmine, which kills the Wolfman. But Mr. Gully absconds with Jenny. Some rando pulls up in a jeep, and you hitch a ride.
Where the fuck did you come from?
And you kill a bunch more people until you reach an airfield. We shoot out the engines of the plane Mr. Gully is trying to escape in. Or at least, after several attempts we did. Turns out we found some weird bug where the engines became invincible, and we had to restart the game so we could actually shoot it down. Mr. Gully holds Jenny hostage in the cockpit, until you shoot him to death. Jenny says she hates you, and now you're forced to make a decision.
All right, fix this.
Escape with Jenny right now,
Could get her
or
out
go back
now.
and rescue Riffic and Shelly, who Lynch keeps calling the men.
The man we...
I choose to rescue Jenny.
Fuck it.
Lynch and Jenny both curse you for being a traitor. The end. Okay, so let's see what happens if you choose to save the men.
The man we...
You storm a nearby village, and Jenny goes from emo crybaby to Annie Oakley, just like that, which is kinda weird. Even stranger is that Kane would just let her run around like that. Like, what if she gets shot? Oh.
Kane, your Jenny is down.
God damn it. She's slipping away. I'll have to carry her. She can't be dead.
Kane, she's dead.
Shut up. She's not dead. I just told you.
Fuck you, Kane.
So yeah, you try to rescue Riffic and Shelly, but by the time you get there, Riffic's already dead. Then as you finally try to make your escape, Jenny is shot and loses consciousness. It's not clear if she'll survive. Then Lynch gets shot for the first time ever, in a cutscene.
Asshole! You should have taken that chopper. It's your only chance. Just deal with it.
As their boat drifts away into a sea of darkness, Kane tells an unresponsive Jenny again that he wrote her a letter. He failed to finish it because there wasn't enough time. You know, even though he was on death row for over a decade. And our nihilistic voyage ends with Kane lamenting that he should have written the letter earlier. I'm guessing by now, for most people, Kane Lynch is nothing more than a faint memory at best. It did have a sequel, Kane Lynch 2, Dog Days, which did a better overall job of not taking itself too seriously, while still being a seedy, filthy bloodbath. Yet, Dog Days was pretty much the last gasp of the would-be franchise. Kane Lynch was actually a big deal in 2007. It's been reported that both games even sold over 1 million copies each. There was a lot of buzz about a Kane Lynch film too. It was actually set to star Bruce Willis and Jamie Foxx. There was promotional materials that popped up at a film festival, and if you go to RottenTomatoes.com, the movie was so good it has a 90% audience score with 690 ratings. Except, you know, the movie never got made. Fandango still has a listing for the Kane Lynch movie also. Look at this, in February 2019, Jim M says, "Can I watch this movie anywhere? So sad I can't see it. 1 star. For what it's worth, you can still buy a Kane Lynch movie poster from a third-party vendor on Walmart.com if that's your thing." There was talk about replacing Willis and Fox with Gerard Butler and Vin Diesel, but that movie never happened either. I did notice something very interesting in the credits though. Director of Trailer. Nicholas Winding Refn? You know, the Danish film director who made Bronson, Drive, The Neon Demon, among other things. Refn also appeared as a character model in Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding as Heartman. He also cast Metal Gear mastermind Hideo Kojima to play a sword-wielding Yakuza in the 4th episode of Too Old to Die Young. Say what you want about Refn, but I kinda wanna see a Kane Lynch film directed by him now.